What if I told you that the way you've been taught to plan your year as an entrepreneur is actually setting you up to fail? For so many of us women business owners, annual planning either feels overwhelming, pointless, or just plain impossible to stick to once real life kicks in. Between kids, family responsibilities, unpredictable schedules, and the constant curveballs of running a business, those beautifully mapped out January goals often don't survive past March. That's why I'm so excited for today's conversation with Megan Sumrell. Megan spent over 20 years in the IT world, specializing in process improvement and project management. But when she became a mom later in life, she realized that the systems she used in her corporate career didn't work for her personal life. She was burnt out, overwhelmed, and struggling to find time for herself. So, Megan took everything she knew about productivity and processes and built something brand new, a planning and time management system designed specifically for women, one that accounts for our biology, our mental load, and the realities of caregiving that so many of us face every day. Today, she helps women create schedules and plans that actually work for their lives, not against them. In this episode, Megan and I are diving into why traditional planning systems fail women, how to shift your mindset so that annual planning finally works, and the practical steps you can take right now to create a flexible but successful roadmap for your upcoming year. So, if you've been avoiding annual planning like I have, or you're tired of setting goals that you just can't keep, you'll definitely want to stick around for this episode. Let's jump in. I am so excited to have with us on the Nourish CEO podcast today, Megan Sumrell. Welcome to the show, Megan.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like we should be sitting together since we live so close.
I know, and I
Yet
like
here we are.
literally just drove a car full of loud children past your neighborhood to get home today from the work or from the office. So I get it. Well, I'm so excited to have you. I know I literally just saw you recently because you came and did a really awesome guest expert training in our Nourish Business Accelerator program. So shout out to our NBA students if they're coming for part two on going even deeper. And today we're going to talk about annual planning, which I know for a lot of people, myself included, either is something that gives you hive or is like, I don't even know where to start, so I don't do it. Or if you're like me, maybe you used to do it. I honestly used to do at least some level of annual planning. And then I had children, and now I'm like literally living like week to week. So I am very selfishly excited to have Megan here. I'm going to ask her a lot of questions that apply to me in my life, and I'm very hopeful that they will be very applicable to your life as well. Really quick, Megan, I loved when you told your story with our NBA crew. So if you would be so kind as to do it again for our broader audience, just so that
Sure.
they understand, first of all, why they should even believe that you know what you're talking about when it comes to planning. Second of all, why I feel like your story really shows why your approach is different.
Yeah.
So let's start there and then we can jump into the actual
Absolutely.
planning
Yeah. And I love
strategy.
that you said like it might give you hives. I always tell people, I'm like, this is the most unsexy topic ever. And it usually makes people either want to throw up or roll their eyes because they've had really bad experiences with it. So hopefully I will change that for you today. But so my background, when I was in third grade and was asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? I did not say I wanted to teach productivity for women. My background was in math, and I graduated with a degree in math and ended up in the whole IT world for over 20 years. So I spent over 20 years working in various software teams, focused really on quality. And over the course of my career, really leaned into process improvement, really good project management skills. I got a bunch of nerdy certifications. Met my husband later in life, and we started a family later in life. So I was 38 when my daughter was born, and I was still working my corporate job. And I can remember it so clearly. It was a Friday afternoon here in North Carolina, and it was in the fall. And so it was like one of those, I'd planned accordingly to be able to leave work just a little early to spend some time at the park. She was about 2.5, and I was pushing her on the swings. And, here in the South, women chat with one another, strike up conversation. And the mom next to me was pushing her son. And somehow the conversation took a turn where I remember her asking me, so what do you do for fun? And I did not have an answer. And I was floored that I didn't have an answer. It's not like I knew that. My life was go, 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 that I'd never stop and take an inventory over the fact that over the last kind of 3, 4 years, I'd lost everything for myself in motherhood, in work, in being a sister, and being a daughter, and all of that. So I had a little bit of a mental breakdown that night, and then I laid in bed, probably still crying, and the irony of it kinda hit me, because I was like, "This is what you do for a living, Megan. You go into organizations that have way too much to do, and you create processes to help them do it the most efficient way possible, better, faster, cheaper." So I was like, "How about you apply all of this knowledge and training to your own life and your own calendar?" So I threw away my planner I'd had for over 20 years, I had my Franklin Covey system to a T, and set out a new way to figure out how to manage it all. And after about 6 months, friends and family just noticed I was different. I got a lot of, "Are you going to the gym?" questions. I was like, "No, I just actually have time for myself again." And fast forward to I was speaking at a women in tech conference, and some women pulled me aside and asked if I would teach them what I was doing. So that was the first inkling of, like, me thinking, "Okay, is this framework I've built for myself something that may be able to help other women?" So I agreed to work with them in exchange for them giving me honest feedback. I'm like, "You're not gonna hurt my feelings because I'm not guaranteeing this is gonna work for you. I've built this for myself." And so after working with them for 3 months, their lives changed, and I had this pull and this calling that this is what I wanted my life to be about. So it was not an overnight switch. I had to, work my way out of corporate, transition into starting a business. And now this is really my passion and calling. I've done a ton of deep research on the differences of the male brain and the female brain, how biology impacts how we prioritize, plan, and schedule. And I've really built what we call the number one time management system for women that acknowledges everything that we have going on externally and internally. So that's kind of the backstory.
Yeah, I love it. And I would love if we could just, I know there's probably, this could be its own episode. If we could just touch briefly on why planning has to do anything with somebody's gender, because I do think a lot of times people are like, "Oh, I don't wanna, limit myself based on being a woman. I don't, I wanna compete with the men. I wanna, like, have a career and all that." And that's great, right? Like, fine. And I think for a lot of us, especially, women our age who maybe came through our careers or through our education in a system that was really favoring male biology, we
Mhm.
didn't necessarily understand that what we were doing wasn't appropriate or effective for us. And so, like you
Yeah,
mentioned,
no,
the
I think that's a
planning and
yeah, and this isn't men's planning's terrible. Absolutely not. Like, we are different fundamentally, biologically, and so we do need different things. I grew up in a very masculine planning world. Franklin Covey planning system is a very masculine one, and when I say it's very masculine, ultimately what that means is there is an underlying assumed level of you've got significant control over your time and what's coming at you, and you're likely not fielding a lot of unpredictable stuff coming your way. You're probably not the first phone call when your kid barfs at school, like that kind of stuff. But then there's also a whole second thing to this, which is there's an assumption that every day the chemistry in your body is pretty much the same as it was the day before. And for women, that is 100% not true. If you've leaned into understanding cycle syncing and all of the ways that our body changes every single month, month after month, our male counterparts aren't dealing with the fact you wake up one day and putting on your pants seems like a lot of work, where just 2 days ago you were able to conquer the world, right? Because of the chemicals and changes that happen to us every single month just through our cycles. And then if you get to the age I am now, you throw in, menopause and that journey. So we have biological differences. And so to say that we can plan the same way doesn't make sense, accompanied with the fact that women tend to carry a mental load, whether you have kids or not, right? So many of my friends are caring for parents right now. They're taking on roles and responsibilities as aunts, uncles, etc. And the female brain, the portion of the brain that handles the emotional core, is larger in a female brain than a male brain. So we are actually biologically wired to have that emotional center that's just different from our male counterparts. And rather than trying to say, I'm just gonna power through it I'm a Gen Xer, so very, rub some dirt on it, get up, I was kind of raised that way. And I think that when we try and apply masculine planning techniques in a feminine reality, that's what ends up happening. We just think we're not hustling hard enough. What's wrong with me? Work harder, do better, quote, figure it out, when everything about who we are is saying the system doesn't work for my reality.
Mhm. Well, and I think even this is especially having 2 kids now and one of them being a baby and a toddler, it's like, I know this is a special phase of life where nothing is in control at all,
Super
but
predictable,
yeah,
yeah.
but it's also just I think the more masculine mindset around, "Oh, just lock yourself in a room for 12 hours
Yeah,
and get your
lock
work
in,
done."
time
Yeah.
block.
Right, which
Yeah,
honestly for me before I had kids was fine. Like
absolutely.
I can get into a flow state and I could just work all day. And it's not like I'm like stressed about it. I'm not like, "Oh my gosh, this is so much. I can't do this." Like if I am left to my own devices, I'll forget to eat. Like there's just, if
I've
I'm
never
doing
understood that.
it
Never have
it
I
can get
forgotten a meal.
I was gonna say it can get a little bit hairy, especially when now I'm also a food source when it's like,
Yes.
"Oh, I can't just, like, not eat. I need to actually, like, pass these calories along." But all of that to say, like, I think I understood the concept of lock in and get stuff done in a large chunk of time, do your most productive things the first thing as soon as you wake up, and I'm like, "Okay, well, now I'm literally, like, feeding a toddler, feeding a baby, changing
Yeah.
baby's diapers, trying to get the toddler out the door, like, get them to the daycare kinda situation, and that's the first 2 hours, 3 hours of my morning, and it's like, no, I'm not getting my most productive stuff done at 9 AM. I'm literally in the car getting my kid to the office, right? So
And
it's
when you read a lot of the, male productivity experts out there sharing their, productivity hacks, almost every time when I read them, there's an underlying assumption someone else is handling, the 5 a.m. club, right? Get up at 5 a.m. and meditate and journal. Okay, well then someone else is taking care of the children in the house for the 2.5 hours that you're doing your deep flow state, whatever. So every time I see these quote hacks out there, and I dig in deeper, I find they're either single with no kids or they have someone full time in that caregiving capacity that's giving them the luxury of having that. And so
right.
there's this assumption that you have to have all of that to be productive. And it's like, well, what if the reality of your life is one like yours and I's where no, I don't have that.
Mhm.
There's human beings that rely on me that I have to do things for during that special window in the morning. And no, I'm not going to get up at 4 a.m. to try and recapture that. Like sleep is more important than that. So,
Mhm.
how do we create plans that still provide us with the same level of joy, fulfillment, success, all of that, but that aligns with our realities?
Yeah. Well, I would love to talk about how this applies to annual planning. Again, in our MBA program, if you guys are in that program, Megan got really deep into day-to-day planning, week-to-week planning, how to get through a program and make sure you get your coursework done so that you get the value. So if you're an MBA student, please go watch that if you haven't yet. And for the annual planning, I know for me personally, that's never been a strong suit of mine. I've tried to do it. Usually by like March, it's kind of the wheels have fallen off with the annual plan. Now that I have children, I think it's a very much a mental challenge, which for this is one of the big reasons why I signed up to do your Planapalooza this year because I was like, I cannot just keep like literally just flying by the seat of my pants all year. But for me, I think the last couple of years has been really challenging because I literally have no idea what my childcare life is gonna be like in even a month from now, let alone 6 months from now. Or like last year, I got pregnant halfway through the year, and then my pregnancy totally derailed what I was planning on doing for the second half of the year. So I do feel like not that I'm planning on getting pregnant anytime soon again, but that could be something on my radar in the next couple of years. And it is something where for me, this might just be a me thing, but it's almost like the thought of trying to plan when stuff is so up in the air And even just, I mean, the world right now just feels so extra up in the air than it's ever been before 2020. So I'm sure other women struggle with this where it's like, because things feel so unpredictable, I don't even know what the point is of planning for the long term.
100%. And this is the reason we feel this way is there's a couple things at play here. Number 1, we if there's so much day-to-day churn and uncertainty, and we're like, "I'm struggling to get my days under control," we think that then it's gonna be impossible to project this any higher into the future. Like, so if I can't do this, then how can I do that? And I wanna share with you some of how actually creating the annual plan can control some of the day-to-day chaos a little bit. But then second, we we are subconsciously wired to believe that the minute we commit a plan to paper, if we don't execute it the way we wrote it, we failed. That it's not actually a plan, it's like set in stone rules. And so we're like, I don't want to write it down. I don't want to do it because then what if it doesn't happen? So here, I want you to think about, let's say you had to drive somewhere new for the first time, right? You are likely going to want a plan of attack of how you're going to get there. You're going to plug it into the GPS. Maybe you're going on a 3-day road trip. You're like, hey, I'm going from this state to that state. And you're going to create a plan of how you're going to get there. You would want that to make sure that you've got some guidance of where you're heading. Now, as you're driving, you could be a half a day in and there's an accident and your GPS is going to reroute you a different way, right? So you may not follow your plan of how you're getting there. Maybe you get there a half a day later. Maybe you didn't get to see that one thing you wanted, but lo and behold, something else really cool happened along the way. But if you didn't have the plan to begin with, you wouldn't have the ability to pivot and make intentional shifts throughout the year. And so when you learn the right framework behind, that's why I like to call it a roadmap. Okay, here's our high level roadmap for what I believe is going to happen with the knowledge I have today. Here is the roadmap I'm creating for myself for the next 12 months with the best of intentions and with the acknowledgement of I will know how to change it as things happen, as they will. Life, a pregnancy has got some things going to happen. But then what that means is what you're not doing is maybe that thing doesn't happen until 5 months into the year. Wouldn't you rather look back and have had a plan that you were executing on that felt intentional, that felt purposeful, and now you get to change your plan 5 months later, as opposed to always, women are always stuck in this vicious cycle of, well, next year things are going to quiet down and I'll do it next year. Or next month when things are, "Ugh, I'm in December, I'll wait till January. Well, then January, everybody gets the flu. Okay, I'll wait till February. And we're always in this, the next, insert that time frame will be better, then I'll do my planning, and I'm here to tell you the next thing is just waiting. Like, life is never gonna stop lifing at us, so the sooner we learn how to create appropriately scaled plans, but then know how to change and pivot them along the way, that's what allows us to actually start making progress on goals, on projects, on dreams, and ultimately to prevent us from getting overbooked and overscheduled.
Mhm. Can we talk a little bit more about the appropriately scaled plan?
Yes, absolutely.
I think this is something that I last year in particular really got like messed up by. And I would say the last 2 years generally, because I'm the kind of person that for me, I don't think it's as much about like saying I failed if I don't accomplish something. I think my problem is I'm coming from a historical background of being like kind of like a I'm trying to think what the word is. Like, basically, the amount I'm able to get done when life is going well is unusually
Well, you're
fast.
hyper productive. You can
Yeah.
probably produce at unusual quantities. Yes.
Yes. So that's what I got used to before having kids, right? I got used to that level of productivity. And since then, and since working with like hundreds of other entrepreneurs, like I get that that's not actually a typical level
No.
of productivity. So I think what the challenge I ran into in the last 2 years was I would plan for what I was expecting my capacity to generally be because that's what it's always been and that's what it usually is and it's fine. And between, like certain toddler transitions, like, my daughter going from, a baby that's like pretty, mellow, you sit them down, they can't go anywhere kind of thing, to now, okay, crazy toddler running around, and then adding the pregnancy on top of that. I think for me, especially last year, there was like legitimate financial damage, quote unquote, to the business because I had to abandon plans that I had worked really hard on the first half of the year to get to like a certain outcome and to have a certain part of my business running. And I think for me, and again, this might just be like my unique situation, but I feel like it's applicable. For me, it's like I almost think that's created this fear of like, what if I do that again where I overshoot what I'm aiming for? And then because of that, the wheels of the business totally fall off because
Yeah.
something happens. So
And I think most of us, and there's a reason why, like our brain, what it's really, really, really not good at is estimating. Whether it's estimating how long, and this is true for everybody, men, women alike.
I think I'm extra bad at that.
Everybody is. We always think that things are either gonna, and it skews both ways. Some people always think things are gonna take way longer than they do, like total unawareness that way. Others, it's the complete opposite, right? Where we think everything that we're gonna get 10 times more than we actually can. And we intrinsically are wired to create plans based on our desires as opposed to our reality. And this is also true. I mean, there's so many amazing analogies you can make with planning that you can with finances. There is a reason why so many people are living in massive debt today, right? They never have taken the time to gather the data and the information that clearly tells them, here's how much money you have coming in. Here is the reality of your recurring bills every single month that you already know that money is spoken for. The same is true with our time. So let's say okay, I have $5,000 coming in each month, but I also know between my mortgage, my gas bill, my car bill, insurance, all of that, maybe you now know you actually have $4,200 already spoken for. That means you really only, when that $5,000 shows up in your bank account, you don't have $5,000. You have $800 for the rest of the month, and that's it. If when you looked at your bank account and you saw $800, you're gonna make very different choices as you execute your life, right? When I'm standing at the checkout line and I'm a sucker for the whatever it is they have by the register, right? But if I know I only have $800, I'm gonna be able to maybe say no to that thing. But if I see 5,000, I'm like, I can get that. I can get that." The same is true with our calendars. So many of us, we are not taught the right level of information to put into our calendar. So we open it up and we see, oh, I've only got 3 meetings this week. I can say yes to these 20 things. I've got all the time in the world. When the reality is the recurring stuff in your life may be taking up an additional 25 hours that's not covered anywhere. So you don't see your reality. And so a lot of the work that we do with the annual planning is to get crystal clear up front based on your stage of life, the realities of your life, what time is already kind of spoken for you through the natural rhythm of your life. So, for example, I know because I've also been doing this for years, and we learn how to create what I call this year at a glance. It's this one-page thing that highlights the stuff for the year, and I keep mine year over year to remind myself, hey, Megan, the last 2 years, May has been an absolute nightmare. Like they call it Maycember for a reason between end of school and exams and everybody wants to have a club and this and that. No, hey, let's just toss Mother's Day in the mix of all of that because that's super fun. So I know in the reality of my life right now, do not plan anything in May. And I'm looking over at mine and it even has at the top of like for the month of May, I wrote 30% as my reminder of Megan, you are running at a 30% capacity. And I have this written out because I do my planning usually in October for the following year. So this means come next January, when someone reaches out to me, hey, Megan, we'd love to have you come do this event or would you whatever, and we're looking at May, I go straight to that one little page that says I've changed the word May to Maycember and I've written 30%. And that is a reminder for myself of what my budget is for that month, right? And this is what I mean by appropriate level of planning. I'm not in October writing down, well, on May 10th at 9 a.m., I'm going to sit down and record I mean, it's ridiculous, right? We can't do that level of planning that far out, but we do need to learn to first layer in what season of life are you in and what does that mean for you? For me, it also means I go to 25% capacity in the months of June and July. That's when we're in summer mode. I am a mom. So I can operate at 25% capacity, same for the end of December, right? Now, I also know what months are typically pretty much like all systems go, and I can plan according to that. Most people, when they're taught how to do, and I've attended many workshops like this, where we're taught to, they put you in a big room and you start with your, okay, let's do our 5-year visioning, right? We're going to get vision boards, we're going to craft, it's going to be great. Then we break it down into like, okay, what are we doing for the next year to hit this vision? And we set these amazing goals. And then they teach you how to break down those goals. And you head home with your piece of paper with the 20 things that you're doing next year, with the milestones all written out. And then you go home and you wake up the next morning and the dog is barfed everywhere and there's a flat tire. And then, oh yeah, the next day is a teacher work day. And oh gee, you forgot you'd planned that launch that you were going to do. And your day-to-day life is doing exactly what it did before you went to that workshop. But the goal setting and planning that you did not acknowledge what's your real budget, what's the reality of your year, what's the reality of your life. So I call that planning in a vacuum. And too many people do strategic planning in a vacuum where they're assuming I've got 7 days a week of a wide open calendar to just focus on these goals. So then we end up, all of a sudden it's February and we're like, we haven't done anything. And we're like, well, now this plan looks impossible. So we abandon it. And then we think, well, next year things will slow down. And it's this vicious rinse and repeat cycle. And so this is why the way I teach the annual planning is we start from reality. What is your budget? What's already spoken for? Now let's get crystal clear on what are your core values? What are your priorities? What's important to you? Once we have that in place, now we can operate from creating real goals, reasonable ones, right? Ones, wouldn't you rather accomplish one goal this year than none because it was one that you could realistically get done in a sustainable way?
Hey there. I want to take a quick pause in this episode to tell you about something that I'm so excited about. Planapalooza is Megan's live annual planning event happening October 15th and 16th with an optional third day just for us entrepreneurs on October 17th. If you've ever felt like annual planning is pointless because life always derails your best intentions, this event is designed specifically for you. Over 2 days, Megan is going to walk us step by step through creating a flexible, realistic plan for the year ahead, one that actually fits your season of life, your capacity, and your priorities as an entrepreneur. And if you can't make it live, don't worry. The entire event is recorded, so you'll get access to all the trainings and the workbook afterwards. I've actually signed up myself, and I would love for you to join me. The link to grab your ticket is in the show notes, and I hope to see you there. Now let's jump back into the episode. Okay, so I'm going to be possibly controversial. How does this Is this at all compatible with the whole, I'm sure you've heard of like the 10x is greater than 2x?
Yes, I love that book. I'm
Okay.
here for it.
Okay, good.
I'm working
Awesome.
on a 10X goal right now.
Amazing. So I would love to hear how that aligns because I think that might have been the thought I had in the last 2 years where I was like, let's 10x it. And then there wasn't like the guardrails at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how does that layer in to what you teach? That idea of like creating a goal that's so big that your current approach actually wouldn't be able to get you there.
Okay. We're actually working on this right now. So I'm like, the timing of it is perfect because I just got stretched through a program I'm in to be like, okay, but what would 10xing it look like, right? And because I've spent so long fine-tuning my time boundaries, right? Here is unfortunately what gets perpetuated, I believe, in the entrepreneurial community. And that is there is two ways to grow. You will either sell more of what you're selling or you will increase your prices of the thing that you're selling. And most people, they're like, these are your only options. And then second to that is, and the way to sell more equals more time. So I believe that when I look at 10Xing, when we took a step back and said, okay, we have this goal. Sure. And we all lean towards the knee jerk reaction to 10X is how do I sell 10 times more than these? Right. Because I mean, I'm not going to be able to 10X my price in one day. That's kind of ridiculous. But instead, we took a step back and said, okay, if we're not going to sell that many more, because maybe that our path to seeing how that happens means more hours, which we don't have. Now we get creative on saying, well, then how do we? So, for example, what we are working on right now is we have something new coming out to the market we're really excited about. We've built all this stuff. All the pieces and parts of the funnel is built, the sales page, the email, all of it. So, when someone's like, "Oh, are you gonna 10X it? Are you gonna 10X your ad spend?" I'm like, "Well, no, because we haven't even tested the ad spend." It's a new that sounds like a stupid, answer to it. So instead, we looked at every single asset and said, "How do we make each asset 10 times better?" Now we are taking but we've time boxed it. We will spend X amount of hours pouring back into the sales page, obsessing over the quality to say, how do we improve this times 10? How do we improve, this experience times 10? How do we improve this email by 10? Now, are we going to 10X it? I don't know. I'll let you know when we're done. But you know what? What if we 5X it? Am I going to think that we failed because we didn't 10X it? No. And when you really dig into, like, if you've read the book, when you hear about the time frames most of these people had to 10X it didn't happen in a month. It didn't happen in 2 months, right? It was thoughtful, intentional, sometimes scary decisions that was on the path to 10X. But you don't have to put a time frame at the end. You don't have to 10X in 6 months. 10Xing in 2 years is still 10Xing, and that's pretty darn amazing. So and this is my approach to everything with goal planning is the date has to be realistic, and then you can back into the how that supports it. So
Mhm.
I don't know if that buys you your answer that you're looking for. Now, some people, you may choose to say, I want this one thing, and for the next 3 months, it's gonna be ugly. But then there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm fine with that. But that's an intentional decision that you are stepping into with your eyes wide open, as opposed to an endless, you know, I'm gonna be overwhelmed for the next 3 years of my life.
Mhm. Yeah, I follow both Hormozis, and while they sometimes can share some problematic stuff, I remember Layla Hormozi shared recently about this concept of going into the pain cave for a very short period of time to just, like, get something done, and
I just don't subscribe to that
really?
anymore. No. And I think it's my age too. I'm 52. I'm in menopause. I'm in the We Do Not Care Club. I'm like a founding member. And I guess I've done it so much in my life. I did it in corporate for so long that I truly am at a season of life where it's just not worth it to me. And my goal and my mission is to prove that you can have your own version of success without ever going into the pain cave. Period.
Yeah. I
I
think
just don't
for
wanna do it
yeah,
anymore.
no, yeah, I trust me,
And
that's
I would
not
love
one of either.
to when she becomes my age and she's, like, postmenopausal, the fact is I physically can't anymore. I
Mhm.
used to do what you were talking about. I mean, I could pull a 12-hour day, like, and be ready for like, put me in coach, give me more. I cannot
Mhm.
anymore. My workday is I usually work about 4.5 hours. If it's a day where I have the ability to work later, maybe my husband's picking my daughter up from school or something, I like 2:30 to 3, I mean, I nothing's coming out. So I just physically my biology just doesn't let me do it anymore.
Mhm.
I think and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me, right now in this particular season, because of like sleep deprivation and like, okay, I had this time blocked that I was going to work on this. And then, the baby's sick today. So now I can't. And I know we talked about this in the NBA program. So I
Yeah.
do think there's opportunities for me to change my week to week schedule to do a better job at allowing for that kind of stuff. And there has been certain things that have happened this year where I'm like, if I don't stay up and do this after the kids go to bed, this might not get done this month.
Yeah.
And so that's when I talk about going to the pain cave, at least the way I interpreted what Layla was saying. And again, her pain cave is probably very different than mine. But for me, it's like, no, I don't really want to be working at 9 o'clock at night. That's not my
Yeah.
lifestyle choice. That's not what I want to be doing. But I know that if I look at my calendar and I'm like, if I don't do this now, I don't know when this is going to happen.
And it's worth it. You're saying, and it's worth it for me to do it at 9 o'clock to have that done. Like
Right.
that's the priority I'm
Right.
choosing. And that's a
Yeah.
very intentional, what we don't want to have happen is day after day, you're being forced. You didn't plan to work at 9 p.m. You find yourself having to do it every single day because every single day the plan you put in place did not execute. Like
Yeah.
that's a sign that we're not planning realistically.
Right. Right.
And I guess, maybe I am taking on a little bit of the pain cave, although I wouldn't call it that. I've taken on a project that I know is I need to basically free up 8 to 10 hours of my week every week. That's currently doing other things, or this project won't happen. So I went through a very deep dive time audit for myself, making a list of what is everything that I currently do that does not have to be me, right? And then what am I gonna do about it?
Mhm.
So I'm outsourcing some. I'm trying to come up with I can't create 10 more hours, so I gotta stop doing 10 hours of stuff to free this up. And we're at the point right now that between I'm letting some stuff go. So some things that I did, just not doing them for this next, period of time. My husband's taking over at least an hour and a half of some driving stuff. I'm looking to bring on a temporary assistant for a few hours. And then I was still left with, I really needed 3 more. Well, when I took pause at my life right now, because I've always been a I don't work on the weekends person, I was like, you know what? I really like this project. And Sunday mornings are very quiet here. And I usually get a lot of inspiration. I'm like, I'm going to choose to actually have quiet, intentional time, like every other Sunday morning to have that slot. But it doesn't feel like I'm taking a pain game. I actually like it's working really well with my life. So I am changing up some of my time boundaries to support something, but I'm not doing it in a way that's killing me either.
Mhm. Well, and honestly, I would say some people would feel like even that process of making those decisions feels like the pain cave because I know it's so much easier for people to just keep doing what they're doing and training somebody else or outsourcing or deleting things like that sometimes can feel more like the pain cave for
Well, it
somebody
feels
who needs to
hard.
be.
It's hard to make those choices, right? Because it's like we instantly go, but it has to be me. But I have to do it because that's what we've been doing. It's like a but I have to. And when you take the time to really inventory all of it, I was embarrassed with some stuff that came up that was just happening on autopilot. I'm like, Megan, really, like, come on now. Like, this does not have to, I know you like it done the way you want it, but you could let that go, right?
Yeah.
To have it done by somebody else.
Yeah. So, just so people can walk away with some thoughts about what they could be doing to
Yes.
plan their year. Is there anything that you would suggest as like a first step or like a first mindset shift or whatever it is that somebody needs to do? Someone who maybe wants, well, I shouldn't say maybe, if you're going to do it, you should want to do it, right? They want to
Absolutely.
have at least part of their year planned or at least a longer term plan than week to week or even month to month because they know that if they don't plan somewhat in advance, life just keeps lifing and
Or
they'll
life will
never,
keep lifing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they're never going to get anything major accomplished if they don't look forward at
Yeah.
least several months.
Here is and it's actually the homework that I give everyone who's coming to my annual planning event. So I'm gonna give you guys your homework so that you can do this regardless of if you come to the event or not. I do wanna make sure the way I teach planning is there are 4 levels of planning, and each one is a very systematic step-by-step process. So annual planning is the highest, like the 30,000-foot view of the planning that we do. And again, it's less specific, less detailed. The intent with annual planning is to protect your year to support what is most important to you. Like that's what we're after here. The next level is quarterly, then monthly, then weekly. So each one of those four has their own systems and they all work together. So what you build with your annual plan feeds your quarterly plan, which feeds your monthly, which feeds your weekly. The number one place to start, most people start looking at their calendar and figuring out next year. But here's what I want you all to do. I want you to take some time, grab whatever notebook, journal, whatever you use, and I want you to reflect on your year to date so far in 2025. And you can even do it with the lens of just two things. One side can be, what do I love and what do I want more of? When I reflect on this year, like, what are those memories you're like, oh, that was great, or ooh, that went really well, right? Get really clear on, this is yes, please, and I would like more of this in 2026. And then on the other side, the things that make you didn't love that. And it could be an event. It could be just the way you felt about certain things. It could be how a certain schedule planned out. It could be something you said yes to that you wish you didn't. It could be the way you feel. It can be whatever it is that you are thinking to yourself intentionally before you plan next year, as I either want this to look different or maybe just not have this at all. Because when we have both of those, that's going to help the next stage of the process, which is, okay, now that we have this love it, didn't love it side, now we're ready to kind of create that container of, this is what I'm dictating is important for me for 2026 based on that kind of looking back, that now we're going to be ready to actually start creating a roadmap for the year that's in alignment with what we really want. We don't realize how much of our life is on rinse and repeat, and we find ourselves doing things that we don't even love because, quote, that's the way we've always, done it. I mean, even a silly example, years ago, I found myself, it was Monday morning, and I'm going around the house, stripping the sheets off my bed, my daughter's bed, getting in it's Monday morning chaos, and I'm doing the sheets, and I'm annoyed, and I'm like, I hate Monday mornings. And all of a sudden, I just took pause for a minute. I'm like, why am I doing the linens every Monday? It's because I grew up that way. My mom had us strip our beds every Monday and wash the sheets on Monday. I grew up with that, and I just carried it on without ever taking inventory of, this is literally the worst day of the week. Try and watch the sheets, right? But you would be stunned at how much of your life is that, because that's just how it's always rolled, that we never take pause to go, but do I have to wash the sheets on Sunday? Like, no, I clearly don't. So that's why it's important to step back and really think about the loves and the not so greats, because then even if all you have is that as you're thinking ahead for the year, it's going to create a really safe container to put down the right stuff into your calendar.
I love that. So, again, I'm sure this could be a 5-hour episode on all the different things that could be valuable for people to help them plan their year, their quarter, their month, their day. And like I said, I know you have this Planapalooza coming up. I signed up for it myself because I decided I'm tired of it being this like pie in the sky. Here's what we're gonna do this year, and then the wheels fall off by March, and then it's just like
Yep.
month to month is just like, did we make our sales targets? If we did, great. If we didn't, let's just work harder the
Yeah,
next month. So
let's just figure out how what we're gonna do next month. Yeah,
right.
and the way the event rolls is it's, you are providing nourishment for 2 human beings. We all have full lives. So I will let everyone know, because the number one question we always get is, will it be recorded? Yes, it is recorded, and yes, you get the replays. So, like, take that panic off of you. But it is 2 days, October 15th and 16th. And Eastern time zone, we go from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I'm a woman. We have lots of biology breaks. Don't like make you sit still for 5 hours. But I guide you through, it's live with me online. And when you grab your ticket, it comes with the full workbook. So it's like 120 something page workbook that we're going to be using together. And that's going to guide you through the whole process. And so we're going to be starting with looking back, looking ahead, getting our core values. I walk you through an exercise to get your boundaries in place. Then we start layering in what's our realities, right? What time's already spoken for before we ever get to, okay, now that we know what our available time is, it's a really great step-by-step process for how we figure out then what to bring into creating ultimately your year at a glance in your annual one pager. So it's a live 2-day event. I do all of the teaching, but along with it, we actually have 14 guest experts that have pre-recorded trainings, and they all relate something to time management, organization, and planning. So we have some women doing some financial advice, others doing some really great like family communication centers, keeping that stuff going, some digital organization trainings. And so those are already out there. People are actually going in and logging and watching some of those pre-recorded trainings ahead of time. And then we'll do the live 2 days together.
And I know there's a third day for business owners.
There is an optional third day that's Friday. Okay, well, don't tell everyone, but it's honestly my favorite day. So
I won't tell anybody.
don't tell anyone. So we're gonna do creating your full annual plan there Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday is an optional day for other business owners because there are so many nuances, especially around, okay, if I'm planning like, how do I plan for revenue, right? So we're doing that extra deep third day. You're gonna get the exact template I use every year to manage all of my revenue planning and tracking for the year. So we walk through how do we create revenue plans tied back to our annual year at a glance. And then we're going to be doing some really cool specific AI training to help us supporting with business planning. So we're going to taking that deep dive that all the business owners always have about well, what abouts? We're going to address on Friday in a much smaller room with just business owners.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited for it. And it is very, very affordable, I will say. So, and being virtual means there's no like hotels associated
Yep.
with it or flying.
You could be in your jammies. I'm here for it. We do have a group of women in Australia every year who rent an Airbnb because it's like middle of the night for them, and they turn it into a party. They're in their pajamas in their Airbnb doing their annual planning. I love
That's
it.
amazing. I love that. Well, Megan, thank you so much for coming on and talking with our audience about planning and all the good stuff. I know you put out an insane amount of content on all of this. So if people want more, where can they connect with you if they want to just go?
Yeah, well, I know you drop a link to
Yes.
Planapalooza in the show
Mhm.
notes. And I am most active on Instagram. So if you're an Instagrammer, you can just come find me at Megan Sumrell. I mean, hit me up in DMs, let me know you heard us here. And another, a great resource that I tend to send people to first is I've got an app in the App Store in Google Play. It's called the Pink Bee, all one word. And I've got 2 free training courses in there, and it's a nice and in there, I kinda introduce the differences of all 4 levels of those planning, and it's a good way to get familiar a little bit with my teaching style as well so that you'll if you do choose to come to Planapalooza, you'll kinda know what you're getting into as you head over there as well.
Amazing. Well, again, thank you so much. And I hope you guys will join me for Planapalooza so we can all enter into 2026 feeling really good about our plans and not feeling like life and children and spouses and world events and all the things that keep happening
Yes.
every single day, let alone week or month. That and none of that's gonna take us off our game for the long haul. Because again, I think it's been this for me, it's been a weird convergence of my life being so unpredictable and then the world being so unpredictable versus started my business in 2014, I think was when I officially started taking paid clients. So I had a good 6 years of like, life is
This
pretty
is Salem.
yeah. And so, the last 5 years she's progressively gotten more chaotic. And I definitely have hit this place where I'm like, you know what? I think I should stop waiting for this to get easier and just figure out how to handle it. So I'm excited to learn from the master.
I'm thrilled you're gonna be there, thank you.
Awesome. And thanks for hanging out with us, guys. I hope to see you at Planapalooza, and we'll see you here next week on the Nourished CEO podcast. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Nourished CEO podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation and it brought you value, I would be so grateful if you would take a minute to leave a review over on iTunes. Your feedback not only helps more amazing coaches and practitioners like you find the show, it also helps me keep creating the kind of content that you want more of. Just head over to Apple Podcasts, search for the Nourished CEO podcast, scroll down and tap that write a review button. It only takes a minute and it means the world to me. Thanks again for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode.